Mrs. Piri, when it comes to Turkey, the Turkey of today, where nothing is certain, how do you think they will think about being told from the European Parliament how to behave?
Well, it would be a pity if that's the way the report is being perceived, as if we are here saying how Turkey should act. We are in the accession process, which means we have dialogue on various issues, and Turkey itself has committed in order to reform itself according to some European standards. So the reaction in the report is actually on this reform process. It's not us telling Turkey what to do, it's actually sometimes perhaps reminding the Turkish government about the commitments they made themselves.
And couldn't it be put on one simple name, the Copenhagen criteria?
Well, it depends on, of course, the Copenhagen criteria. This is exactly what we are negotiating about. Then there are all these technical chapters. This Parliament, of course, does not take the approach of the Commission to go chapter by chapter on where Turkey stands on fulfilling all these criteria. We take as a basic the rule of law, fundamental values. These are for us in the European Parliament the basis for any accession negotiations, whether it's with Turkey or with other countries. So yes, there's a lot of attention to that in the report and a lot of concerns in various areas in Turkey.
What is quite funny to people looking upon what's going on in Greece is that Greece and Cyprus, the Greek Cypriot government, are opposing finalizing some of the chapters negotiated between the EU and Turkey. What's your opinion about that?
Well, in the Council, we all know that a lot of chapters are blocked. Actually, 10 are blocked by the Council itself because of Turkey not recognizing Cyprus. And then there are some individual member states, it's Cyprus and France mainly, who have blocked certain chapters of negotiations. This Parliament continues its call, also this year, the same as the European Commission said, because we have concerns about fundamental rights and judiciary. It's exactly another reason to make sure we enter into a much more intensive dialogue. And what could be a better framework than the accession process we are in? These are two chapters which are indeed blocked by one member state, in this case it's Cyprus, and I can understand the Cypriot opinion, but this Parliament has the opinion that these are exactly chapters which we should open, not as a present to Turkey or to the Turkish government, but exactly because we want to have a much more frank and open dialogue on these issues.
At the press conference you just stated that among the things you pinpointed on is the Cyprus problem, the Turkish attitude towards a solution. But it's almost sensational what's going on the island between the two communities right now. Shouldn't Turkey simply stay away from participating even in a solution to the Cypriot problem and let the Cypriots do it themselves?
Well, of course, we saw actually in 2004 when there was an agreement which was put to the vote to the inhabitants of Cyprus, to the population.
The so-called Annan Plan.
Exactly, the Annan Plan, that Turkey did support it. And this is exactly what we ask in this Parliament from Turkey to do. Of course, not to interfere in a bad way, but it can play a positive role in these talks by making sure whatever comes out as an agreement agreed by the two communities on the island, that Turkey will accept and even support that agreement. That could be the role Turkey could play in this.
The final question, the result of the election in Turkey. Will that have any kind of influence, you see, the diminishing power of Erdogan, for instance, on the access to Europe?
Well, for me, why I'm positive about the election result is because it showed that despite all our concerns, also, for instance, during the campaign in the run-up to this election day, we had a lot of concerns whether how it will be conducted. And actually we see that the same rule which applies in our democracies, that the institutions are there, but who occupies them is a decision of the voters, applies the same way to Turkey. It's the Turkish voters who said we don't want further concentration of power in the hands of one person. It's them who said we want the Kurdish peace process to remain on top of the agenda. And actually with that they for the first time elected the most representative parliament in Turkey. Any Democrat would be happy with that result.